so I think fear has a very important purpose that should be honored and esteemed.
Absolutely
Yeah.
influence, and I show up maybe as a new person, how will I be received? How will I be perceived?
I have.
Yes.
You gotta feed back in the, as you feed into that,
Absolutely.
that foundation will always hold you.
That was huge. I do have a question. What you said begs a question. It begs a question. If God is always speaking and He gave us these, why would He not audibly just say what He wants us to hear?
Okay, so that's a whole dialogue. Okay.
What you said begs that question.
And so I say it's a whole dialogue because it is a whole dialogue, but it's also a personal dialogue.
Right.
That I may have shared with you guys at some point in the past. And some of my friends watching this, I shared with as well. One day, I was offered the question, what have you heard from God about this issue, this situation?
Yes.
And in my upbringing, I have always been told that when God speaks, you hear Him. You hear Him audibly, in some kind of voice, in some kind of way.
Okay.
And that, because experience is experience,
Right.
I cannot and will never take from someone what they have experienced
Absolutely.
at all.
Absolutely.
However, I can to this day say I have never heard God speak to me
Okay.
ever
From
these ears or in a English language way.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I never have.
Okay.
However, I have in the past 3 years felt myself become more aligned to wholeness and health by way of me aligning and listening to and tuning into other ways that I can
Hear him. Well,
not hear Him.
Okay. See.
No.
Experience.
Him.
Okay.
And I believe that because God, because the Almighty, because Source exceeds any of our imaginations,
Yes.
there are an infinite amount of ways that that Source can connect and communicate with us.
Absolutely.
And because of that, I have found an enormous amount of comfort that I don't need to hear Him the way that He has been told I need to hear Him
Okay.
from others of mine in my life.
Okay.
I can in fact experience the experience of love, which is what He is, which is what it is, the experience of, again, health, completeness, and a level of peace, which is what a part of what prayer, from several of my friends, and asking my friends a question about their thoughts on prayer allows them to experience peace along the way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
peace along the way is, to an extent, okay, I'm feeling a thing.
Yes.
Let me now release this thing
Yes.
to something
Yes.
or someone, or just out to to something or someone
Period.
that I believe has an answer or the ability to direct or the ability to provide something for me that I cannot provide for myself.
Absolutely.
And in that sense, okay, I can now do that via sitting, meditating, and you mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this conversation about stress management and navigating through stress. And one of the ways that I've learned, I'm in grad school right now,
Right.
and last week's course was about stress management. And one of the tools that I personally have used has been writing.
Okay.
And so many of us, I'm sure many of you guys online and here as well, utilize journaling as a type of prayer.
Absolutely.
I have never been comfortable talking through prayer. I would write my behind off
Right. Wow.
about what's happening inside of me.
Wow.
And I know for a fact that in those times of release,
Yes.
that release gives me a level of peace. And that release gives me a level of peace to be able to now step back from this emotion that's happening inside of me. I can now differently, clearly see what's around me and then more properly attack, I guess, my next step.
Or how about a line?
Or align into what is right for me. Because again, emotions oftentimes cloud our thoughts.
Right.
And in that clouding, we can't see what is readily in front of us.
Absolutely.
Readily in front of us.
Absolutely.
So the release of emotions, whether it be to a higher power or to the universe or to the existence, whatever way that it may be said or may be done, gives us the freedom to say, okay, it's not all on me.
Right.
It's not all on me.
Absolutely.
I'm going to now sit. And I think a lot of times we, you mentioned earlier, there's a duality of prayer and meditation. And prayer says, this is going to be a thing for you. I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to give this out there, and nothing else is going to be done on my part. Meditation brings it back to me.
Okay.
I'm going to sit. I'm going to feel. I'm going to observe. I'm going to experience. I'm going to let what's happening impress me enough to then know exactly what I need to be saying to the universe and God in a accurate and truthful way. And until we can honestly sit with what we're feeling and accurately describe and accurately translate, accurately express those things, we're just talking. We're oftentimes talking about other things that aren't even our things we're talking about. We're often talking about processes that are not our thing. So we're talking about other issues that don't even relate to what's happening here. And this is what needs to be aligned to the next best step. And if I don't give the authority my truth, then my next best step is not going to be the next best step won't match where I am because I'm not giving myself my truth.
Okay. I hear that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It absolutely makes sense.
It's a lot. You're giving a lot of body to the aspect of prayer where people perceive prayer one-dimensionally. And it's only through expression of thinking prayer is just conversation outward. But if you pause, God himself will speak back to you. However, to me, in his intimate way of knowing, you brought about God being a higher power, higher authority. So if I'm praying to God, that means I'm praying to the one who created me, gave me life, gave me purpose, intention towards me. So if I connect back to that, I can now put myself in a position of sitting in, relaxing, being truthful, being honest to the one who created me, to the one who gives me breath, to the one who gives me life, to the one who gives me purpose. And I can not just cast things, but I can also take the time to receive. I can receive what I need. Why else would I pray for peace if he wasn't the God of peace? If there was something that I couldn't release onto him and then get an exchange in that place. But I love that you took it from just this common practice or this
routine.
Oh my gosh, this routine. You're bringing life back to prayer. I understand that you can have a praying life or you can have a prayer life. I believe there are two different things. I believe when you're having a certain experience, you either can make it conditional, you can pray and it be a routine. It be, I'm going to talk to God at 9 a.m., I'm going to talk to him at 12, and I'm going to talk to him at 8 o'clock.
Which has great value to it.
It has value, but it is very conditioned to event. Whereas if I have this praying life, I'm continuously doing so, as what you express. I can stop in the middle of my day and I can sit and I can check in with self and I can check in with God. That's a continual thing. It's not a scheduled appointment. Don't get me wrong, I believe you can make appointments with God, but I believe it to be more beneficial to carry this with you, to become one with this, to make this not just a practice, but this be the position of your heart. This be the position in your posture, in purpose, in just being a human being, being able to have this unlimited access that you can go at any point in time. This is not a busy God who is so detached from humanity, so detached from the earth that he can't step down and give insight in whatever sphere or this is what you see through. So to me, instead of saying, well, God, I'm just going to talk to you at 8 a.m. and I'm just going to let the busyness, the stress, and all of that go about my day and hope I make my appointment. No, I can now, from an inward authority, an inward place, take ownership, be aware of self, but also being aware of the higher authority. Mine is Christ consciousness, that I can now replace what all I've got going on, and I can now ingest, I can receive something far greater than myself. Where I was stressed, now I can have peace. Where I was lacking, I can now have abundance. Where I was full of complaint, now I can replace with gratitude. It's just a beautiful exchange to me, and I think it is essential. Are we saying that it is essential?
I think it is essential. I also need to answer that question for myself.
Yes, please do.
I have to. First of all, y'all know y'all don't show it out in this video.
No, that's twin right here.
I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it when the video goes up, but I had to say that first. Now I want to answer my own question.
Yes.
For me, I believe the reason why God does not speak audibly to me is because I have an issue with rules.
Okay.
I have been a rule-based liver my whole life. I get pride in my ability to successfully navigate rules. If you give me any kind of rule, I can't breathe for the next 20 seconds. I can't watch TV on Thursday.
Okay.
I shouldn't eat fish by myself.
Okay.
Whatever the rule is,
Got you.
I can do the rule. So I believe God doesn't talk to me is because I have a problem with rules. And so he does not want me to focus on rules. He loves me so much that he does not want to overcome my own ability to make a choice. If he gave me a rule, I wouldn't even decide. I would just obey.
Got you.
But he loves me so much that he trusts me with freedom and gives me several choices. And he speaks to me quietly, but then gives me all of the options. And I can choose to act in my own best interest or not. He loves me so much that he will allow me to act in a way that's going to cause me harm. That's some kind of love, right? I don't know if I have that kind of love. That's another level. But for me, I'm so grateful now because over a period of time, I've watched that he's consistent with his love for me. And so now I'm beginning to trust his love for me in a way that says, even though I know I have freedom to choose, why would I choose not to align my next step with his purpose? He's not like somebody that just came around a couple years ago and I'm trying to gauge and see, is he going to be here for it, right? And a good thing for me, because if he was new to me in this pandemic, I wouldn't trust him.
Absolutely. Come on.
Something is happening that is invisible. I wouldn't trust him. Christians and pastors and churches are dying and getting sick and can't even get in them.
That's it.
If he was new to me, I would be done with it. But because he's established his reputation over time in my life, I'm now choosing to deny myself, deny my choices, and only choose the next step that's going to take me closer into a better relationship with him.
Good.
I had to acknowledge that for me.
And that's through alignment, through prayer.
And so, I wouldn't even be aware of it if it wasn't for both prayer and meditation. Because for me, I have a problem with stillness. It's one of the reasons why I brought you back to that point. I don't do stillness well. I have not done stillness. I've always found him in my moving.
Absolutely.
When I pray, I walk. I go walking, and I'll come back a whole different person because through my movement, I feel in my steps, he's redirecting my purpose. But when I can't move, then I can't step. So I had to recently, in the last few months, adopt meditation as my primary communication source. It has taken over now. It is my main number one thing. Meditation is my number one main thing now. I have a prayer life. I have a praying life, I should say. I don't ever disconnect my conversation. You know how they had that box you can check online and say stay logged in? I keep that box checked. I keep it checked. I have to. I do.
You must.
But meditation is everything.
I love that.
Tell me this then. How has, since you've recently invested meditation into your prayer process, how has meditation enlightened?
Meditation allows me to acknowledge that every thought I have is not righteous. Every choice I may want to choose isn't good. In prayer, I never got to that.
Yeah.
I never came to an awareness of how I was not always the person I thought I was. I believe in my prayer was for me almost like a performance. It was almost like a monologue. I would kind of get into a character, and in that moment, I may sit a way that I don't normally sit, do stuff with my hands that I don't normally do. I'm doing a thing, right? And I'm an actor. I can do things, right? But it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because it's not honest. It's not authentically.
And it's not spirit.
It's not spirit. It's not spirit. And so what meditation has allowed me to do is to acknowledge and to own the things about myself that are still works in progress.
Absolutely.
I don't have to hide that. I don't have to just keep it behind.
Yeah.
I get to bring it up. In fact,
Absolutely.
I actually enjoy bringing what I'm not happy with into my meditation.
Absolutely.
If that's okay. I didn't find it in prayer.
Absolutely.
Now, because I've discovered it in my meditation, I can now use it in my prayer conversation.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, okay, wait, you was there when we meditated a few minutes ago, right?
Right.
This thing is now riding with me,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
I need this to be managed.
Yeah.
But I discovered it through.
I love that. I've been doing that also. I've added more meditation. Intercessor and prayer warrior. That is my heart. I will stand in the gap. I will intercede for others. But meditation causes me to have to put a change of perspective for self. Okay, I'm somebody that nurtures and I dole out and I teach and I do all these things as an extension of my heart and who I am. But I didn't realize how neglectful I had become in prayer to sit with self and be able to allow God to be all those things to me that I've been to others. Also, meditation in changing my perspective, it's caused me to have a trust and a reliance on God that I've not had in a long time. Because people can fill those spaces for you. People can give you energy. You can get around certain people in that environment, especially if you have a servant's heart, a person who loves to help meet needs and things of that nature. I could get the energy from other life that God breathes into, but myself, I was neglecting my alignment piece with Him, where He could allow me to even be an answer to self. I could do it and show up and be like, it's just Jesus, God has moved on my behalf in this and this and this and this area. But when it came down to the stresses and now being in isolation more, where's my outlet become?
Right.
I don't have the church space.
Right.
I don't have friend spaces. I can't go to those things. I have to now sit with self. I have to now meditate and allow God to say, baby girl, that thinking right there, you got a lot of fear talk right there. Let me heal you right here. You got a lot of anxiety. Ooh, come on, let's deal with this. So these are things that meditation has provided me to sit, get an exposure of actually what's going on with me, and then me and God can have some healthy dialogue.
Something that you both brought up that I wanted to expand a little bit on as well. I've obviously already given my thoughts on meditation from the very beginning. I think meditation does something that prayer doesn't make space for.
Okay.
Meditation as a practicer and a practitioner of meditation. One of the practitioner's common phrase is, if what comes up, observe what comes up. Allow for it to come up. Whatever it may be. If it's anxiety, if it's disgust, if it's fear, if it's whatever it is, allow it to come up. Observe what comes up. Experience it and then release it.
Absolutely.
And I don't believe too often, I believe rather, prayer has become a thing where I have to meet this standard in order to even progress. I can't move forward until I have brought myself holy or until I have met by talking to this God, talking to God. Okay, I'm going to do whatever I have to do
to conjure up.
to get to this place of holiness where meditation says, go ahead and be that first. You gotta be that before I can bring it. And if I can't be it first, then what the hell am I bringing? What am I bringing? To even say, okay, you know what, this is what I have, this is what I'm really feeling. Let me now bring that to the experience of prayer. So that my prayer actually is going to be a potent, powerful, real thing, not just a common reciting of a thing.
I love that because it really takes out of the stigma of religion.
Oh, yeah.
And the rules
Yes.
that religion will put on you that is very restrictive.
Yes.
It causes you to want to modify the behavior as if the God that you're praying to is not aware of who you really are.
Exactly.
And this outward extension of performance where God is like, I'm not requiring any of that.
Exactly.
And it's actually keeping you from my presence.
Because exactly.
His presence can't dwell where flesh is. So what I mean by flesh is the pretense, the things we like to project, but he loves honesty because the Bible also says, biblical perspective, you're going to get that Christ consciousness from me, spirit and truth. God, spirit and truth. So God is not really impressed with all of the outward aesthetics, not even the thoughts that you think towards yourself that are out of alignment to who he's called you to be, who he said you are, in the position of where you are. And God just says, if you would return to me like a child, if you would just, kids come to you honestly, do they not?
Right.
Kids will show up, they can't help it, they have no filter.
No filter.
They're just going to be as vocal, as vulnerable. And to me, again, meditation brings back that childlike aspect for me, where I can be aware of self. I don't have to adult in this thing. I cannot have all the answers. I cannot show up and just play pretend. And again, God gets glory even in my truth. That's how I feel. Because he's brilliant. He knows what he created. He knows the way that we take. He knows the earth. He knows the earth in the fullness, in glory, and in stature. And I believe that his ultimate heart towards us is that we will return back to him. That we will get in a place of stillness. That we will get in a place of meditation so he can actually meet us there. Which is what I said. Once I got to get in a place of meditation where I could still myself, then my worship became real. Not that I was playing pretend, but again, as I'm expanding in my Christ consciousness, I can see why prayer was so essential to Christ. I can see why his heart had to go back, and he oftentimes made a long time to be able to spend, to commune, and to connect, to fulfill purpose. And again, I think prayer and meditation are essential even to purpose. That's just a hard absolute truth that I have. And it's a hard life to live when you don't have purpose. Because you're always questioning, why am I here? What am I here for? Why do bad things happen to good people? All of these things. But in prayer, you can be resolved in those things and be able to see yourself as God being able to minister to, speak to, strengthen, get quiet, be able to show you something in a plant that I wouldn't see. But guess what? Whatever revelation was already there, you received, you could give to me, and it could enlighten me. Same for you. However God speaks and ministers to you, the revelation in which you get from that is a gift to you, but it's also a gift to you. And so getting out of these practices of what you said, this whole, what religion does to snuff out the simplicity, but the potent power that comes from prayer and meditation. Yeah.
I got one more thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
We got about 5 minutes, 2 minutes ago. I believe that prayer through meditation, prayer, because meditation could. So I'm gonna go this direction.
Okay.
In my path of knowledge, particularly with yoga, meditation is the fourth step on an 8-limb path to enlightenment and to bliss. So even in the yogic sphere, you don't end in meditation. Meditation is a point along the way
Absolutely.
that then takes you to access to the highest. However, and considering what the goal of meditation is, to find a level of peace and grounding, and I've used this word a lot recently, homeostasis. Homeostasis can exist as you settle in,
Absolutely.
and as you allow the bodies to almost naturally heal themselves. But the goal, I believe, a goal of prayer can be, and I would dare say is, to heal.
Absolutely.
And to find acknowledgement of what is happening and how we see what's happening around us and how the circumstances can be used to heal. So to kind of bring it back to the whole heal perspective, the purpose of prayer is to find purpose in our current space and to find ways to be acknowledged in ways that exist that we can in fact find health and wholeness as well.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
And that's God's desire, is that we be whole.
That's just
That
purely.
we be whole, mind, soul, body, and spirit.
And there is no malady, there is no sickness,
Come on.
there's no plague,
Yes.
there's no event,
Yes.
there's no brutality
That's right.
that can keep you
Come on.
from your perfect, we call it love of God,
Right.
but that's also whole, healed existence
Yes.
in God.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes what the enemy will try to do is to convince us that, well, maybe everybody else can get whole.
Right.
But
Right.
based on what you've done and what's been done to you,
Yes.
wholeness is no longer available to you. And that's one of the biggest lies that's
Absolutely.
ever been spoken in
Absolutely.
the universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, guys, we could talk about this on and on and on. We really could. We wanted to lend that healed perspective. We wanted to open the scope and open the space and invite you to a place of prayer, to that being a key component into your wholeness, to provide a stress relief, if you will, since we were talking about stress management. And we pray that you will continue to discover what prayer means to you, that you go to an expanded, a deeper place, and that you will find wholeness in prayer. We reached out to a lot of you guys, and we'll do a part 2 to this video, but we reached out to a lot of you guys. Y'all gave us comments concerning with prayer. We heard things like prayer is their lifeline. We heard about prayer being an aspect of connection of faith. What was the other? That revelation.
Acknowledging what?
There was one person who chimed in and said that the revelation, that everything that God has already said is already in existence, and we're really on a path of discovering through revelation. I already know there's a Greek term for that. It's called apocalypso.
Apocalypso!
It just means what's already here. God is willing to take the cover off. So again, if you have questions in regards to prayer, if you have questions in regards to purpose, you have questions in regards to what's going on in life, we just encourage you to go to God. We encourage you to get on that path of discovery. Don't be afraid. He's not afraid of you. God is always speaking, as Elder Brother ministered to us. And
Bishop.
so again, Reverend Bishop. But we just wanted to tell you that we love you so very much, and that we really do want to continue to engage with you. We want to highlight, and so we'll speak about other entries that we received on prayer. So again, anybody else want to offer anything? Thank you, Titus, for leading us in that powerful prayer of meditation. We pray that you really utilize that. Run it back. Do it over and over and over again. It's here for you. You can find us on social media, all forms. You can find us on YouTube, Rafa
Collective, _
Collective. You can find us on Instagram.
Also, Rafa _
You
Collective.
can find us on Facebook,
Rafa Community.
Rafa Community. So we love you. Please feel free to like, comment, share, pass this along. Use this dialogue in the spheres and the circles that you have. Bring it to your family because, again, we are Rapha and we believe in the healed perspective. We want you whole. We want you restored. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Peace.
If somebody gonna get up and stop that video, what